Hey, True Believers. Chris Mack continuing the Blackest Nights with Green Lantern issue 42. And just how I've said about every issue of the Green Lantern Corps, I absolutely loved this one. Terror, action, then of course in Peter J. Tomasi fashion, there's lots of emotional moments which hit home, which as I've said, it's kind of a Claremontism for me because you care about the characters before the action or the art. You care about their lives, and that's what enhances everything else. So with that said, everyone's wondering who these kids were that showed up at the end of the last issue. And Vath, I forget this guy's name, but he goes, a second ago you were talking about all this help you're popping in here to bring. Compassion is the one thing that we don't need at the moment. I love how this little zombie child says, Mama, can I eat the lantern's heart now? Of course, my darling. Patience. All in due time. So we start to learn a little bit about these creepy kids, but before anything can really be answered, it's just all out hell on Oa as Monk has arrived on Oa to help the Lanterns by combining the Lanterns' lights to try to destroy this threat. So this is Hungry Heart, Peter J. Tomasi story in words, Patrick Gleason pencils, Rebecca Buckham with Tom Nugent inks, and let's see, Randy Meyer with Gabe Alatus, sure. Colorist, and Steve Wands was the letterer, and there's everyone else working on the book. So of course, Monk has to explain to Vanth why he's there, what he's doing in order to sever the connections of the Black Lantern Corps. And the artwork is just amazing, the cacophony, because at this point they are completely overrun. And remember, Vanth's more of a military mind like John Stewart. He goes, transport us out of here, get us to a better place to defend so we're not surrounded by these and we can zero in on these bastards. Spatial leaps utilize too much energy. It draws from a significant amount of power away from my ring and prevent me from neutralizing as many of these Black Lanterns as we can. But as we saw in the last issue of Blackest Nights, everything's starting to say 100% power level exceeded. And you're thinking, well, how's that going to affect anybody? Now, remember, last issue, I didn't really point it out because I didn't want to spoil it, but Kilowog is fighting against his former teacher, who was the one that trained Kilowog. And he's pissed because all his faults are being brought to light, and this Black Lantern's just enjoying it. You failed everyone. Your people, your core, the rookies, yourself. Now you won't be able to destroy. And before you can take Kilowog's heart, the 100% power level exceeds. And it says devour will. So he just flies off, leaving Kilowog broken. And he looks at all the rookies that had died and he goes, what are you staring at? You all knew the risks when you accepted the ring. I never hid the fact that death was part of the core. I drilled it into your heads. You knew the history. You knew the sacrifices that were made. Everyone always thinks they're immune from it, that it'll be the next lantern next to them. Well, it was you, and all of you. Did you think you were special? That your names would never be scribed in the Lantern Crypt? You were all lanterns, and lanterns die. Lanterns die. It's a moment to just see Kilowog broken like that and to see his faith shook. And before we have a chance to kind of reel from that, we still see Kyle and, help me here. I've been calling her not to because her last name's easier to pronounce. Is it Soranik or Soranic? I cannot pronounce her name to save my life. But as I've said, they have something between the two of them. And she goes, do you really think that you could scare me with that puppet light show of yours? I've seen plenty of death. And if you think I'm going to let some abomination like you destroy what I have, Kyle comes up behind her and he goes, what we have. And it was just a great way to finally see these two have a moment to express their feelings for one another. It's just an excellent little bit of character development. And then we are treated to an amazing splash page. Horrific though it may be, as all the Black Lanterns ascend on the central power battery. Power levels 100. Devour will. And just, I love Guy Gardner, how he just goes, okay, we're dying with our boots on, people. And we're dying standing up. Not in our house. Not today. So even though all this is happening, they're willing to die for the core. And not because it's the core of the, the Guardians of the Universe. They're dying for their comrades in the trenches with them. And that's what's important. Now, as I was talking about at the beginning with all the creepy little kids, if you recall, the Yellow Lantern, I can't remember her name now, and the Pink Lantern that are looking for her children, there you go. There's where all her children went. And that's why it makes it 10 times creepier, and they all combine to make this horrific looking construct, and they essentially have to rely on an enemy of an enemy to gain some footing in everything that's going on. Now, there's a quote-unquote sacrifice that has to be made in order to stop the fall of Oa. And what happens, it breaks your heart, because who it is and what it relates to and what we've just learned in this book, you're just kind of like, wow. Now remember, comics. So no one really dies. However, Tomasi does what he can with what he's given in terms of the constructs of the story. He can't really kill anyone off. But nonetheless, leaving that aside, the way this book ends hits you right in the feels in pure Tomasi Gleason fashion, and that's what I love about it. And if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is you like to get your action figures and comics. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little core bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.